Kalyanpur, Director Sridevi Tool Engineers to please join us first on stage with a huge round of applause.
Still coming back from tea.
Oh, okay. Yes, we are wanting to tell you that the tea and coffee will be open for next 30 minutes, so please do not miss out on the opportunity to learn here from the collaborative efforts that we all together as an industry are putting forward. It is the first panel discussion on the day, and we have many more sessions to follow. I will request you to please put your hands together as I welcome the eminent panelists on stage. Mr. Pankaj Aggarwal, Group Purchasing Head and COO, Motherson, to please join us here. Huge round of applause. Next, may I request Mr. Jayesh M. Rathod, Senior General Manager and Head Engineering Godrej Tooling, to please join us here. Huge round of applause. The tea and coffee should have given you more energy. May I request Mr. Rahul Dev, Vice President, Supply Chain, Maruti Suzuki India Limited, to please join in the panel. Huge round of applause. And finally, may I request Mr. Rajeev A. Solanki, Head Central Process Engineering, Legrand, India, to please join us here on stage. Huge round of applause for the panelists here. We are looking forward to an engaging session of collaborative growth, building stronger ecosystems for tool making. Over to Mr. Akshay, the moderator. Huge round of applause for everybody.
Good morning, everybody. I would like to thank TAGMA for organizing and for inviting our fellow panelists to this panel discussion. I would also like to thank you all for taking out time from your busy schedule. And before we start, I would like to set the context for the audience. At the risk of sounding repetitive, India's tooling market is 24,000 crores. Everybody knows that. 34%, as rightly said by the fellow speakers before me, is being imported still. So these are figures of the last couple of years. Not just the tools, 35,000 crore worth of plastic parts is also imported. So you can imagine if that we can bring in and make tools, it can add to the 24,000 crore, which is already the market size. Now, besides this, there's a very interesting figure. India, along with China, Japan, Germany, ranks in the top 5 automotive manufacturing countries. And unlike its peer countries, it's not the top 5 tool making. India's rank in the global tool making index is 20th. So this is a large deficit that, has to be bridged. And the tool makers, most of them are SMEs or MSMEs. Few of them are captive who have the strength. But it's not possible for the SMEs and the MSMEs to grow by themselves. So the whole aspect of this panel discussion is through collaboration of all stakeholders that are there, right from the OEM, Tier 1, tool makers themselves, government, financial institutes, TAGMA as a body. Everybody has to chip in and handhold the small industries. So speaking about all stakeholders, so let me have your view, sir. You're the largest stakeholder. Maruti Suzuki has the largest share in the market. Whatever I spoke was about the past and the present, 24,000 crore. How is the future outlook of the automotive industry? Do you think the gap will widen or it will reduce? And how can the Indian tool room align themselves as per the growth of the automotive industry? Over to you.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I am audible. So first of all, let me thank TAGMA team for inviting me and sharing the dais with the esteemed panel members. I am feeling very much honored and privileged to be part of this international event. Let me also thank the tooling industry for the excellent effort which is being put in for the growth of the industry. So, as you asked this question, I think the future is very, very promising and there are a lot of opportunities going forward. But before I go into that, let me share a brief perspective about the economic conditions. See, India is poised to be a developed country by around 2047. And the growth rate at which India is working on is around 7% plus. In fact, it is the world's number one economy in terms of growth. It is followed by China and Indonesia, which is around 5%. If we continue this pace, we hope to cross Germany and Japan, and by 2027-28, we should be the third largest economy in the world. This is as far as the automotive part, overall industry part is concerned. If I talk specific about automotive industry, though Mr. Ritesh mentioned that we are the fourth largest, I think it is a bit old information maybe. Today now we have crossed even Japan. So we are the third biggest automotive industry in the world after China and USA. And also the automotive industry is contributing around 35% of the manufacturing GDP. In addition, there is a huge focus on the localization. So I see a lot of opportunities going forward. If I say the challenges or the actions which automotive industry is taking, one is a lot of effort is being put in towards capacity expansions going forward. Also, there are many, many new technologies or new features which we are going to incorporate in our products. Since customers are so much demanding, then the product life cycle is drastically coming down. So we have to keep on upgrading our products with new features and bring new models in the market. In addition, there are many, many global challenges, for example, regulations. Now India is at par with most of the global countries in terms of regulations, whether it is crash safety or the fuel efficiency regulations like CAFE 3, CAFE 4 going forward. CAFE, I don't know whether people may be aware about the tooling industry, but it's basically corporate average fuel economy. So we have a very stringent target of reducing carbon emissions by improving the fuel efficiency going forward. And of course, a lot of effort is being put in on alternate fuels technologies. So many such challenges are going there. And of course, these technologies, we cannot simply have it from outside country. Our intent is to have as much localization as possible. So a lot of effort is being put in that direction. And if I talk about tool room industry per se, if they have to go hand in hand and align with our goals, so they will also have to move fast. And maybe one mantra which I can share is of mantra of 3S: speed, skill, and scale. That will really be helpful. Thank you.
Very well said. So along with challenges, you're saying there are opportunities to grow. We've already jumped from fourth to third. So if tool rooms are not matching the speed of the OEMs in expansion, the deficit might just grow wider. So the good news for the tool makers is there's a market which is already there, which is in deficit. That means more orders can go to them. But even then, it won't be enough. We will also need new tool making companies, captive or commercials, to be set up to bridge this gap. So with that thing in mind, how do you think the tool room should scale up? What are the do's and don'ts? And definitely tell us what are the don'ts, because we don't want to fall down and die while growing. So let me start with Pankaj-san. What would your do's and don'ts for tool rooms be while they are scaling up?
Okay, so thank you so much, first of all. So I think tool room is a hot topic actually for all of us. I come from Motherson. We are now $24 billion company. We have 400 plants, 10 tool rooms worldwide, and maybe 500 tool makers where we buy the tools from, not essentially in India, from outside India for global requirements. Now the problem is the tool making is first of all, I heads up to the people who have tool rooms. It's not something, when you wake up in the morning, you want to do business, you will do the tool room business. Never ever. The only people who can do tool room business is the people who are really crazy and really engineers, passionate. You know, I would use the word crazy because it's beyond passionate if you want to set up a tool room business, because it's a kind of money when you put in, your capex turnover ratio is less than 1 in tool room business. And in India, when the land costs are so high, it's very difficult. So if you put a money and any other component in automotive, the capex turnover ratio is 3, 4, 5. Okay, so people like to put money there. Second problem in tool room comes in. I'm coming to that, how to scale it up. And so the second problem is the working capital. Tooling cycle is like 8, 9 months, whatever cycle time which we talked about. We talked about what a user wants. You know, somebody say I need a tool in 3 months or 4 months or 9 months. But then look at the tool room investments. His raw material supplier still will give him a payment term of 70 days or whatever. So his working capital is blocked for at least 9 months to 12 months easily. Now with the interest rates in India so much, how can he survive? Think about, these are very fundamentals, okay? So these are very, very fundamental. So first of all, don't over commit to yourself. Don't try to make investment in speculations. You will be dead for sure. Because you will be dead not because of the order, you will be dead because of the debt. So that's one thing. Second thing is, if you look at automotive industry, I am from Maruti in old days. I was brought up in Tata Motors and then nurtured in Maruti. So what Maruti did was, in the beginning, they put some big JV partners. And then the whole ecosystem started. Now there is no such kind of big tool room. I was telling him that Godrej is like, when we talk about tool room, only name comes in the mind is Godrej, right? Nobody else. So we don't have those kind of, I was also talking to my colleagues, out of the college, when you come out, do you hear any tool room name where you would like to join? Any brand name or anything? No. So these are some fundamentals, you know, as a society we talk about people don't want to go, but where do you go? I don't know a tool room. In my college, tier 1, no tool room will come and do placement, right? So that's the other thing. So first of all, don't do speculation. Second thing is, most of the automotive industry, tier 1, they did some type of collaboration in the beginning. A lot of electronic supplier, everybody, because India didn't have, we had garages. I remember in those days, I used to go to supplier and making a register, telling him where column 1 serial number, column 2 mold name, column 3 rack name. We used to teach them like this from Maruti. Now, when people get into collaboration, a lot of small JV technical collaboration, etc., I think Indian tool makers should go for a simple, that's my personal view, not as an organization view, but some kind of a little bit of collaboration. So we talk about technology, it's a chicken and egg story. You will not spend in technology because you don't have money. So better make some small collaboration, start to learn, and also, this is a good time because look, there are a lot of sanctions against China, etc., and US. Now Chinese cannot supply directly. Now they are looking for partners who can piggyback on them and then supply. Okay? This could be opportunity. I'm giving some like local gyan, but that's how it is. So you can look at some partnerships, somebody from Taiwan, somebody from Korea. Small relationship, you will learn and you will also get customer base of them. That's how we should do it. And maybe OEMs, friends can help them to do some of these things. So because then they have a pull, they can talk to some of the tool rooms abroad and they can get with them. So I think these are some of the don'ts. I will do that. Second biggest problem is the material. Tooling is one good thing is there are not too many material. Steel, hot and electronics, electrical, hydraulics, etc. That is very fragmented. Now, a person who's having a tool room of 100 crore, he has a zero negative negotiation power. He's dumped what is being dumped by the big steel guys. He has to pay the price and the payment of what he has to do. And on the other side, tier 1 and OEM, we will squeeze him on everything, whatever best we can do, till he survives and he can see his pain in his eyes. That's what we do. That's our negotiation skills. We call it that. So I think these are things which we need to be careful.
Very honest of you to tell all the pain areas, even from an OEM tier 1 point of view, to the tool makers also.
I will tell you the solution also in the last question.
I'll come to that. Rahul san, would you like to chip in and say, how should a supplier, because Maruti works with so many suppliers, like Pankaj san said that there are a lot of JVs. How would you advise a tool making company to grow? And what would you definitely not tell them, you don't grow in this manner?
Very, very good question, Akshay-san. So basically, how I perceive is that tool room industry is basically a capital goods industry where most of the businesses are family owned. So if we have to continue with the growth of the industry, there is a very simple point which is called QCDDM. That is quality, cost, delivery, development and management. These are the key mantras I think which we should focus upon going forward so that we are able to sustain in future. But that's one part of it. Additionally, another big challenge which we foresee is that what are the kind of risks which are there going forward. And so each and every supplier or in tool room company, they need to identify what is the real risk to their business going forward. Risk could be, for example, fire related issues like floods. We see Gujarat and Maharashtra, a lot of water related issues are there. Risk could be related to earthquake. It can also be related to cyber security. You might have seen last month there was a big issue related to cyber hacking crime. So these are some of the risks which we should identify. In addition to this, do we have the sufficient technology going forward? For example, when I mentioned about cafe, where we need to focus on reducing the carbon emission by improving the fuel efficiency, by light weighting. So do we have technology for ultra high strength steels available in India, or do we need to do some setups? Then whether the downtime of the machinery, is it there, or we are able to take care of that? Another big issue which I foresee is the finance. So does the tool room have sufficient finance going forward so that they are able to take care of? For example, so basically each tool room industry, I think they need to identify which is the risk which is relevant for them and then take necessary actions so that going forward they should be in a much stronger position. For example, if I talk about finance, generally the industry thinking is how much is the profitability this year. But instead of focusing on profitability for this year, I think we should focus more on reducing the debt to equity ratio. For example, we request our suppliers to maintain a healthy debt to equity ratio of less than 0.3. What are the efforts you are putting in for improving the credit score so that the banks are more than happy to give you loans? Then another big issue is how much internal cash generation you are having and whether you are really reinvesting that in the core business. Generally, people have also have a habit of finding some lucrative avenues, for example, real estate, and divert the funds to that industry, those areas. So my suggestion would be to stick to the core area and try to invest in that area. Another big issue is when we go for mass production, there is a lot of order, everybody is running for it. So somewhere we miss the maintenance of the machinery regularly. So my request is to kindly focus on annual maintenance of your machinery. Also have sufficient spare parts of good quality and proper specifications so that you are able to reduce the downtime. We also discussed about reducing the lead time that Taiwan, Vietnam, China, they are much faster than the time which Indian tool rooms are taking. So one possible approach could be in your vicinity, develop some tier 2s for less critical operations who are able to give you a good quality, consistent product. With this, maybe some non-critical activities can be outsourced, and in totality, you will be able to give your the tools in a much better timelines, which will be really helpful.
You see, both Pankaj-san and Rahul-san are emphasizing on the finance bit. But even though finance bit can be handled, they are saying you cannot neglect the quality, the efficiency of the machine. So you can't grow thinking only about the availability of capex, but not look at efficiency, which is already there in your plant, and you can actually increase capacity by doing all the activity. Rajeev-san, can I get your opinions on this too?
Hello. I hope I'm audible. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. And with all regards to the TACMA team and my fellow colleagues and dignitaries who are present here, uh, most of my seniors are coming from automotive industry, but I am saying that I am coming from another dynamic industry, which is electrical industry. And Legrand India, if I talk about, huge amount of investment is coming into India. As a Legrand group, which was more focusing on Europe and Americas and China's at one point of time, now the focus is now shifting to India. So now they are not talking about China plus one. Now they are talking about world plus two, which is, China plus one, which is India, Europe plus one, which is again India. Okay. So what I have been seeing in the tooling industry from couple of years, from last more than 2.5 decades, what I really saw is overcommitment from the tooling people. It's like, it's like biting more than what you can eat. So I think for don'ts, we should stop that. Because when I'm going to a tooling person, I expect a right commitment from the tooling person, right? Because at my end, I have to give a product to a customer in defined time. The competition is fierce. Everyone is into India. So competition is there to kill you at any point of time. So only thing what I need to compete is, see, quality is a must now. When I'm putting money into a product, quality is expected, it has to be there. There is no negotiation on quality. So I'll not talk about quality. The only thing what we talk about is two things. One is time and then the cost. Because what normally people do is like they go with cost first, which is L1. So when I'm floating a quotation or RFQ amongst tool rooms, the quotation which comes to me, the first thing what I'll see is the L1. But as Legrand India, we have stopped doing it. Because we saw that when we go with L1, which is overcommitted, they don't deliver on time. Okay. So the next focus is now is to make sure that wherever we are going, we ask for their spare capacity and we ask their, confidence of delivery on that day one. When we ask for T0 samples, we don't talk about T0. T0 is not useful for me. I want T1, which is as per drawing. So what is your commitment for T1? That commitment, if it's suiting me, I'll give you business. Or else I cannot, because I have to deliver to my customer as well. So this is the biggest don't which I felt in the tooling from last couple of years. Second thing, what you can do now, including small tool rooms, including big tool rooms, the focus has to be on innovations only. Because when we see the, the partner tool rooms outside India, more on China or Taiwan or Korea, even the small tool rooms are focusing on the innovations. They are trying to come out something new every year in their own tool rooms. And they're creating, novelties year on that. And that's how they are building up their business. So I think that has to come from India as well. And I'm very confident to say that I have been working with small tool rooms, I have been working with big tool rooms, and that competency and that skill is available in India. It's only we need to tap it. Okay, how do we create innovations? When I was in my old company, I was focusing on, I started a legacy that we should start doing IPR tracking. So we should see that where the manufacturing industry is going, So I used to do tracking of patents from automobile industry, from electrical industry, from other industries as well. So I was knowing the direction of the industry and there where your focus should be. Okay, so the tooling is also getting more smarter. When we talk about connected products, the time will come when we'll talk about connected tooling also. I'll be sitting at my home and I'll see, what's going on in my tool, what speed it is running or what problems it is facing, right? So that will also come in over a period of time. So this is what I realized that, the do has to be innovation first, timely commitment, and make sure that you adhere to that commitment. How do you do that? You have to think about where is your waste of money and waste of time. If you try to reduce the wastage, then only you'll be able to become profitable. Because most of the tool room, when we go and ask, how are you doing? Sir, paisa nahi kamate hai. Tool room don't earn money, sir. Because my first love is tooling. Okay, I started my career in tooling. So I know that this is the pain. But how do we reduce that pain? And my target is that we should not expect anything from the government or anything from anyone else. We have to start at our home. Charity starts at home. So what I am doing, when I saw my seniors, they were talking about, what they are doing for the second generation, third generation. I'll tell you, I have two daughters, one age 8, other age 5. When I was young, my father used to give me, components, die casting components to play with. And he used to tell me, parting line kahan pe pata meko. This is how I learned, and that's how I'm saying that I'm not from NTTF. I'm a production engineer by graduate. But my first love is tooling because that's how I started. I started early, and that's how I'm still in that industry. We were a class of 80 students. But sad to say that only 4 of them, including me, are from the core manufacturing. Rest all have moved out to other industries. There are people who are graduates in production engineering now sitting in RBI bank also and doing nothing for manufacturing. So these are also the things gonna come. So what I do with my daughters, I do the same thing. That if your toy is, if it's broken, make sure that how do you repair it. You tell me how you're gonna repair it. And that's how they start early. That's how the passion will come into them. Otherwise, if we talk about, okay, the guy is in college, let us train him, let us create a skill in him. If he's not passionate about tooling, he's not passionate about manufacturing, he'll not come into this field. At the end, everyone has to run their house. So they will see always, where the money is. So obviously, the money is more attractive in coding or in other IT industries. Obviously, they'll move over there. How do we create that passion in, how do we start creating money in tooling as well? That has to be the focus.
I think very interesting points, and something that is worth appreciating is the approach of moving away from L1, because you can't expect tooling companies to do any advancement in technology, to do capex, when we are still in the mindset of L1. So,
So I'll add one more point. In 2023, Legrand India manufactured and delivered 314 molds. Out of 314 molds, only 4 molds were imported from China. 310 molds were made in India. That too, 260 molds were commissioned in 6 months' time. So this is what India tool rooms can do. So, and that 4 molds also we were forced, because the entire supplier base of Legrand India was fully saturated. And there was no option other than going out. So this is what happened with us. And 2024 is still growing.
really appreciate the numbers that you are quoting right now, and only 4 tools that were imported, it's quite a big achievement. Lastly, coming to you, Jayesh, head of Godrej tooling, how would you advise the fellow tool makers, machinists, job shops, how to scale up, do's as well as don'ts?
Yeah, good afternoon. Am I audible? Yeah, so thank you, Tagma, for giving me this opportunity to be on dais with my fellow panelists. And to Akshay, what you had mentioned about do's and don'ts of scaling up. So what I feel that tooling industry, we all know, is a capital intensive and labor intensive also, or skill intensive, I would say. So because of that, scaling up is really a big challenge. And if you look at worldwide, then the largest tool room, without doing any other revenue stream, is in the range of, say, 360 million US dollars. So that comes to around, say, 3,000 crores. But in India, if you look at it, then I would say the largest tool room could be in the range of 200 or 300 crores, not more than that. So there is a huge gap, and there is a huge scope also. And we all know, sir, that tooling is a business of which is being done with the passion. You've taken it at some other level also. So when passion is there, then sometimes you try to overlook the challenges are available. So in a passion, you try to grow up at a very fast speed. But for me, actually, what I would advise that there are certain factors can be called as a desirable factors and undesirable factors. So desirable factors, you should look at it before jumping into any growth strategy. What are the mega trends? If the mega trends are indicating to some particular area, then try to grow in that area, because that is going to be your future. Another thing is your capability assessment and capacity assessment also, infrastructure assessment. So in that case, we should see like what are the future capabilities required to meet any of those mega trends, and then how to achieve those type of capabilities. So whether strategic alliance, as sir has mentioned, so from that point of view, look at quickly upgrading yourself to be able to serve those kind of market. with a more capable team and then having a good infrastructure with you. Another thing is undesirable factor would be don't rely only on one product line or only on one customer for your growth strategy. That will be too dangerous. You should be looking at having more number of customers for the same type of capability what you are developing, so that you are de-risking yourself being squeezed by any one single customer. As a strategy, you should look at maximum 10% of your capacity dedicated to one OEM. Then it will be a smooth sailing for you. So this is what I wanted to share, sir.
Nice. Interesting that you said that you need to spread your risk over many customers. I believe Segal-san also believes the same principle. He says no C more than 10.
Because
Yeah.
neither customer, neither the commodity and the
Yeah,
country.
yeah, yeah.
10%.
I think very, very valid points, and I think so. Lot of things must have hit home right away, because these are the actual pain areas of tool makers that you have mentioned collectively. Moving on to the next question, more tool room specific, but also involving OEM and Tier 1. What challenges do you face in the Indian tool rooms, and how do you think the OEM and Tier 1 can help? And for this, I would like to start with Jayesh-san, because you might have a long list since you're a tool maker. What sort of help do you expect from OEMs and Tier 1s?
Yeah, so with respect to challenges which are faced by tool rooms, I would say, so it will be like in the same line like any other manufacturing sectors. But there is some peculiarity to the challenges which is faced by tooling industry. In fact, TAGMA has published on this topic through, I think NRI has done a very good study on that, and it was published last year. So you all can refer to that. But my take from those kind of report is there are 3 types of major challenges, 3 to 4 types actually. The first one is availability of human resources. I will be talking more on that. Yeah, then support from customers, as you have mentioned, and then there is a finance, and also there is a ecosystem. So these are the 4 challenges what our Indian tool room is facing. So coming back to the first one, now India, about human resource, so India is a populous country, but still skill upgradation is a big challenge here, because to serve tool room industry, there are very less institutes or tool room institutes available. So it is very difficult to compete with the capability which is been existing in the overseas market, with the overseas tool room. So in that case, we will have to upgrade our teammates at a very faster pace, because skill development and skill enhancement is having a slightly bigger learning curve than any other manufacturing industry. So in tool room, we have got those kind of challenges. Another thing is about brain drain. I think someone has mentioned that there are very few tool room specific institutions, and all the cream would try to go to abroad to a more lucrative jobs, and they would try to settle over there. So that way, Indian tool rooms are deprived of those kind of skills which are actually developed by the institutions. Another thing is whatever training you impart, whatever effort you put on developing your tool makers, and this becomes ready to hire available resources for OEMs and for tier 1s also. Because OEMs would like to strengthen their R&D department by designing the product which is more I would say, adjusted to the requirement of tooling industry. So that is again a challenge of brain drain and then attrition rate. I would request that we have to take care of that. And another thing is about, say, finances. So in finances, what we face is that the payment terms which are agreed upon, and then there is lot of deferment. So what happens as a tool room, you are actually dealing with OEMs and tier 1s who are big corporate. they got their own method of or own speed of processing your payments. But you are relying on your suppliers who are MSME, and mandatorily you have to pay to them. So that cash available to you for a very small period, that creates a lot of cash inflow problems at our end. So that is one part. Another thing is like this very high cost of capital which you employed, it has to be continuously worked upon. It should be producing it. And tool room industry goes through the same cycle as OEM. Now OEM will have some bread and butter type of products so that continuously their lines are run. But in tool room actually whenever NPD comes we have work and otherwise we don't have. So many a times since we have to see that all our equipments are spread out, so we have to reduce our price and then take the orders. So that affects the profitability and viability of the tool room itself. So these are some of the matters which are related to finance. And with respect to ecosystem, I would say we face a lot of issues. Like if I have to hit rate my block, I have to send it to 150 kilometers away from here. Total 10 days of time will be lost in getting the detail back. Whereas in our other neighboring countries, where it is available next door. So only the process time of heat treatment only is added to your lead time. Whereas in our case, those type of disadvantages are there. And also we import lot of material there because of geopolitical situation also. If the material is not available to you, then again your lead time increases. So your supplier base and sometimes your product user base is at a different location, then you have these type of challenges to maintain the lead time what is required by your customers. So that's what I wanted to make.
Right. So you would say working capital means better payment terms from the customer, and I believe some help in manpower training. I believe Maruti is already doing something in this area where they're teaching people machinist and fitter roles, and they're opening up this manpower to the tool makers as well as to their vendors. Rajeev ji, can I have your opinion on this, please?
See, what I realize is that manpower training has to be a continuous job. When we say that, there will be a brain drain, yes, it is a fact, we cannot deny that. But we'll have to keep on doing it. What we do in Legrand, India is, we have a very small tool room in Jalgaon. We are also having we are facing the same difficulty, we don't get people at a right skill. So now what we have done is that we have created a pool of ITI guys who come in, who are passionate about tooling. So when we take interviews, we are making sure that that guy has to have a love for the job what he's going to do. So he should have a passion towards tooling. He'll be invited, and then we train him. Okay, we train him on the real machines with the real jobs with the real parts. And what we saw is from last couple of years that almost 60% stay, 40% still leave, but that's still okay. Because if you try to retain 100%, it's not going to happen. That's a fact of the industry. It's not going to happen. So we'll have to do it day in, day out. Number two is that as a OEM, I feel that most of the OEMs, when we talk about the payment terms, yes, it's quite critical. They don't give advance. Tooling, I have seen a couple of scenarios where the tool rooms don't get advance, and once the tool design is ready, then only they get little bit of advance and then they start manufacturing, which is, I think, we should change. As a OEM, we should support the tooling in the saying that at least 40% should go as an advance, because material planning, the hardware planning, and the design team, and the other analysis which needs to be done has to be paid. So that is number one, which I think the OEM should start thinking about it. Number two is, what I feel is that if you want to scale up in tooling, you have to think about where your resources are getting drained out. Like, where are we wasting time? The tooling is wasting maximum time in validation. We are making the molds, we are making press tools, no doubt on it. T0 to T1, it has the biggest gap. And OEM will pay you only when the T1 samples are approved. And when the gap is big, your money is blocked for that point of time. The OEM is not happy doing it, right? But OEM is not getting the right part at the right time. And that's why you are not getting paid. And that cascades. That creates more problems and problems. So this happens with most of the tools, and then when you see your balance sheet, you see that I'm not making money. So we have to see to it that where are we wasting time from T0 to T1? Can we reduce it at day one? Do we have analysis in place before when it all starts with tool design? The tool, when I saw tool rooms, when I asked their tooling that, okay, tell me how many people you have in design. Even the biggest of tool rooms have only 10 or 12 people. Okay. Out of that 10 and 12 people, when I asked them how many people are going to the field for mold commissioning or tool proving, not any. They have a separate team. That should not be the place. When the guy who's designing the tool has to make sure that that tool, what he has designed, is going down and making sure that the tool is running in the way he had designed. This is what I did in my career. I was a tool design engineer. I used to make sure that I used to go down and ask my tool die makers that whether what I have designed is right or not, whether it is managing easiness for him or not, what he wants, what he expects from me, and that I'll design in that way. And then the tool has to go on the machine, and I have to make sure that the first component which is coming out has to be first time right. So this has to be the strategy where we are trying to reduce the maximum amount of non-value added times. Tool inspection is also one more. So can we try to install appropriate automations in tooling? I'm not saying go fully automated, don't go with robots and all. I don't believe in that. Robots in tooling is going to be a far job till now. What I feel is that can we think about appropriate automations where we can try to automate tool planning, when we try to automate capacity planning. Do we have the realistic data in front of you, whether when I'm running a tool room, do you have the realistic data in front of you that how much machines are occupied today? So can we install Industry 4.0 to make sure that what machines are running today are at what capacity, how much capacity is free, so that your planning becomes easy, so that your job is not waiting for the machine and machine is not waiting for the job.
Basically, you would like to nudge the tool rooms into having some soft automation, some measurement matrix, which is actually very low investment if you see, but it might just unearth a lot of capacity, which some owners might not even know that they are losing.
Correct. So that's what I call is appropriate automation. Go automation only where it is required. Don't go with full automation and then you say that I invested so much of money, but it's not helping me. Go with very small automations, which will, and make sure that that is helping you in reducing the time.
So, Pankaj ji, you've been in this industry for quite some time. You've seen challenges in the tool room. You've been an OEM, now you're a tier 1, now Unibuild is also your child. How do you think the OEMs and the tier 1s can help the tool rooms in their challenges?
Okay. So now I think after the problem solution has to come. Okay, so I think, as I said, we are all echoing the same thing, working capital. At the end of the day, money, it has to start from the money because all the solution will come from there. So I think as a tier 1 or OEM, we need to really handhold the people. We need to really handhold the people and not like, okay, I take care of you, not like that, but we need to really in a pragmatic manner. And let me just explain you about the Unibuild. The approach what we're taking is which could help the ecosystem. So Unibuild, we have started a venture which is like supporting the companies to expand their business or to source better. So for example, what we're doing is like we have our own 10 tool rooms, but we have sourcing from another 500 tool rooms around the world. But Unibuild is also kind of a marketplace which you can sell your tool room in 50 countries. So what we can do is, I can't tell about what others can do, but what we can do is any tool room which is ever sitting here or beyond, they can register on the Unibuild. They will get a market for 50 countries. Now, 2-3 things will happen because of that. Now, when you get a market, you don't need to go to those customer. So all those expenses and everything, the customer acquisition become zero. Otherwise, getting a tool order from a customer is a nightmare. And you just can't publish your tool room on a newspaper and somebody will come to you. It goes by the word of mouth, okay? Tool is something like, you will not put your investment for 1 year and then you realize something was wrong, okay? So I think that's one thing. You can get acquisition in 50 countries right away. That's one area. Second thing is from the design point of view. Now, every tool room may not have it. Like India, tool room industry is very fragmented. Everything is so, like you said, heat treatment somewhere else, tool rooms are somewhere else. If I look at tool room, maybe they are fully occupied, but capacity is 30% missing, is not utilized. Maybe you are fully utilized because of the one of the machine that is fully utilized, so your tool room is choked. but maybe other 3 type of processes are already underperforming. So that means in India, if I look at 30% capacity is available, which nobody, is like a sunk capacity, okay? So which we'll also do is that we will tap that capacity so that maybe he has a milling machine empty, I can utilizing milling machine for somebody else. So his revenue goes up. He doesn't need to, he's like, because as I said, it's a capital intensive business, so your ROS has to be high, return on capital employed. If you're not sweating your asset, you're not making money. Okay, so you need to make money. Maybe it is low margin, but your machine is lying idle. You put a job and you get some money. That's the second thing. The third thing is, as I said, what Unibuild will do is, any tool room, whatever you're making, I can buy you the steel, I can buy you the cutting tool, I can buy you the electronics and hydraulic parts as well, so that your payment terms of those sourcing will be better. Because if you go to buy anything, most of the tool room will buy in advance, most of them. Or maybe a little bit of payment term, but not, so you can get a better payment terms. Second thing is, as we said, when you make a tool, you need to import a lot of material. Now you might be importing the material through a trader, maybe some are here also. But can you get it from OEM directly, which I can get. And also, we also develop steel in China. You don't need to buy from Europe. You can buy the same steel in China. So you can get a better steel at a better pricing. You become more competitive. So all these things I can do. Third thing, there are 4 things, I will talk to 2 more things. Third thing is logistics. Every tool room when you're exporting, you're sending a logistic like a courier. Mostly. Courier in the sense you're sending 1 tool or 2 tools or whatever, what price you get is 40% higher or 50% higher or 100% higher than in normal logistic prices. So when I have like my company which is $24 billion, so I have my own logistic stream which is going from one place to the other. When I shipping your tool, I'm buying your tool from X for price. Because when you're doing landed cost, you cost unviable. When I'm buying from X and I put my logistic cost, which is not as high as you may be, it become viable. So same tool room become viable. Other important problem is when you want a customer outside India, you need to have, there is a VAT and everything is there, 19-20%. You have to pay it from your pocket, right? You become unviable. Second thing, you need to set up an office there. Because tax structure, everything, you can't just send a tool from here and you don't have nobody sitting there. Like you talked about a trial of the tool, who will do trial? Now, if you install one person, any level, it will cost you 200,000 euros. That means 2 crore. कुछ भी मतलब वो आपको कुछ भी किसी भी लेवल का आदमी रख लोगे ऑफिस मिला मिलू के 2 करोड़ का पड़ेगा आपको लैंडेड आपकी टोटल कॉस्ट क्योंकि लीगल एंटिटी बनाओगे यू विल हैव ऑफिस यू कार भी दोगे उसकी इंश्योरेंस करके अगर आपने जर्मनी में 60,000 सैलरी दी वर्कर को उसकी 60,000 आपको अपनी तरफ से भी डालना पड़ेगा सो टोटल कॉस्ट विल बी 150,000 यूरोज और 2,100 सो एक टूल रूम 100 करोड़ का 2 करोड़ एक आदमी की दे देगा तो चलेगा कैसे ठीक है दैट यू डोंट नीड टू पे Other thing, this through Unibuild, if you do that, all your legal tax structure we will take care of. Okay, so I'm buying your capacity, I'm buying your tool, you make money, you don't have to go through all these legal issues. The fourth major issue is kind of syncing with the OEM or a tier 1 requirement. Now, in India, like for example, you may think I'm making very good tool. It is not that you're doing bad or good. It is just a calibration of what you're making and what they're expecting. Even in my own tool room, sometimes we are not able to make the tool for German product. Because ये बोलते हैं हम तो बम्पर बना रहे हैं मारुति का अच्छा बन रहा है अब वो दूसरी गाड़ी का बनाएंगे तो that may not be having same specification ना so I think that calibration we will be able to do because I know the product, I know the customer. जो ट्रायल है अब ट्रायल के अंदर प्रॉब्लम क्या है when you do a trial you will not have all the machines in your tool room to do trial. अब आपने टूल बना दिया आपने टूल बना के जिसने आपसे टूल खरीदा उसने अपनी मशीन पे ट्रायल करा अब उसकी मशीन में गड़बड़ पार्ट ठीक नहीं बना ओईएम ने रिजेक्ट कर दिया तो व्हाट यू आर टेकिंग द ब्लंट ऑफ ऑल दिस सप्लाई जो चारों की जो गलतियां हैं वो सारे आपके टूल पे निकलेंगी ठीक है ना बच्चा अगर खराब होता है तो माँ को ही बदनाम करते ना या पेरेंट्स को खराब अरे बच्चे ने क्या करा किसको क्या पता तो द पॉइंट इज व्हेन यू मेकिंग अ टूल योर ट्रायल बिकम्स अ मेजर इशू. So do we have a capacity to do trial? Do we have the machines to do trial? तो ट्रायल के लिए आपको पूरी वर्कफोर्स चाहिए. Somebody has to put the tool, you have to fine tune the tool. It's not कि टूल लगा दिया और बटन दबाया चालू हो गया. कौन सी मशीन पे लगाया? अब फॉर एग्जांपल, sorry I'm taking time. It's an emotional. Yeah, so just 2 seconds more because it's an emotional topic. Because when you make a tool, आपने ट्रायल एक मशीन पे करा, एक जो जिसके फाइनल बनने वाला है उसकी मशीन कुछ और हो सकती है ना. ऐसा नहीं है टूल कि आपने दूसरी मशीन पे लगा दिया तो चल जाएगा. उसका हॉट सिस्टम कुछ और होगा, इसका सिस्टम कुछ होगा, उसका स्क्रू होगा, इसका जो भी होगा. नाउ ऑल दोज थिंग्स एड अप टू द वेरिएबिलिटी. सो दैट्स व्हाट वी ट्राइंग टू डू दैट. And this is where we are even, it's really helping a lot of tool rooms. Like all my tool rooms which I'm getting in China, I buy their raw material. Even in China. Because मैं सारे टूल चाइना में बनवाता हूँ मोस्टली. सो मेरे सारे टूल चाइना में, उनका हॉट रनर भी मैं खरीद के देता हूँ, स्टील भी मैं खरीद के देता हूँ. उसमें इट्स नॉट जस्ट द कॉस्ट, रिलायबिलिटी. बिकॉज मुझे पता है कौन सा स्टील लगा रहा है. अब एक बार घिस के लग गया स्टील के अंदर, मुझे पता नहीं चलेगा ना क्या लगाया, या हॉट रनर क्या लगा. हॉट रनर तो पता होगा, बट क्या इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स पार्ट लगाया क्या. सो आई थिंक दोज थिंग्स वी नीड टू डू. देखिए जो इश्यूज़ हैं वो ऐसे हैं, अगर हम सोचेंगे इफ़ यू सॉल्व थ्रू मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स तो 10-20 साल लग जाएंगे, कुछ नहीं होगा. वी हैव टू बी प्रैग्मेटिक. कल से ठीक करना है. हम ये सोचते रहेंगे एजुकेशन बढ़ जाएगी, वो कब कॉलेज खुलेंगे यार, तो हम तो नहीं रहेंगे उस कॉलेज की आउटपुट को देखने के लिए. तो हमें कल से चालू करना है. तो आई वुड ओनली रिक्वेस्ट द गैदरिंग है. I'm not advertising Unibuild, but it's a solution which will help anybody and it's free of cost. You will not have to pay any money. You don't have to shell out any money. If you're buying a steel at X, I will give you X minus delta X. That's my commitment. तो आपको तो इसमें कुछ करना, आपको you're not losing anything.
Is it live or?
Yeah, we are running already. We have like, huge business already on it.
Oh, very good. So you can have members on board onto
you
your.
You can go on unibuild.ai, register yourself right away. From tomorrow, if you order steel, I can get you steel. If you order hot runner, I can get you hot runner. If you ask me customer, I can get you customer. That's all I can do. And without a single penny, I will charge you.
Sounds very interesting. I believe a lot of people would have piqued their interest in Unibuild, and I think so. After our session, probably you might get
we have to do a pragmatic
stopped.
approach, you know,
Yeah.
because we can talk all kind of global gyan, but at the end of the day, the guy who's running a factory, उसको कल से मेरे पैसे कितने बनने, he wants to know that. That I will ensure.
We spent so much time discussing about the pain areas of tool room that we went through only 2 questions. We have 3 more remaining, but that's the situation. Most tool rooms are in dire need of help, and I believe there's a lot of topic and conversations that we've begun, and if people in the audience can take it up with you all individually or collectively with Tagma, I'm pretty sure we might be able to bridge the deficit sooner than expected. With this, I would like to close the panel discussion. I thank you all for listening patiently. I'm sorry we couldn't finish on time, but over to you.
Thank you so much. That was a great panel. This is collaboration in front of you all. A full house calls for a huge round of applause for the amazing audience that you all have been so far. This was only our first panel discussion. We have lots more to follow. And now we would love to felicitate our eminent panelists. So may I request moderator Mr. Akshay to do the honors. Please be center stage for photo ops as well. So we'll do the felicitation of our eminent panelists with a huge round of applause to begin with. May I request Mr. Pankaj Aggarwal to please come forward for the honors. He's the Group Purchasing Head and CEO, Motherson's. Calls for a perfect photo op. Mr. Pankaj Aggarwal, huge round of applause. Next, may I request Mr. Jayesh M. Rathod to please join us here, center stage. He's the Senior General Manager and Head Engineering, Godrej Tooling. Huge round of applause. Next, may I request Mr. Rahul Dev to please join us, center stage. He's the Vice President, Supply Chain, Maruti Suzuki India Limited. Huge round of applause. Calls for a perfect photo op. And the final panelist, Mr. Rajeev A. Solanki, Head Central Process Engineering, Legrand, India, to please join center stage. Huge round of applause and a photo op. And to felicitate our moderator, Mr. Akshay Kalyanpur, may I request Mr. D.M. Srigar to please join us back on stage. A huge round of applause for the president of TAGMA to do the honors. Calls for a huge round of applause. And let's have a group photo op, gentlemen. Let's create memories as we move forward into the future. So post this, we will be clearing the stage and we'll be getting ready for the technical sessions. And while we do that, we want our guests to participate in a fun quiz. Are you ready?